Welcome to SoCal Sports Report's 87th podcast. I'm John Stellman along with Vince Morales and a fired-up John Adams. He's got fire coming out of there. He's going to be on fire tonight. We got all air conditioners go in the studio tonight, I'll tell you that. We're going to lead off with Noe Ramirez, which I think is absolutely ridiculous, and we probably might agree on that. He received a 3-game suspension for hitting Mreznik last night. Brad Osmus was out for 1 game for allegedly ordering the hit. A lot of talk on Sports Talk Radio today over the airwaves, and a lot of opinions being floated out there. I, for one, I don't agree with it. I've always said in a situation like that, if Mreznik wants to come inside like that and hit a guy, or anybody that wants to do that, let him serve as long time out as the guy he injured. If LaCroix's out for 3 weeks, a month, let Mreznik be out for 3 weeks or a month. I don't see where you can give him. You gave him 2 days for the initial hit. Ramirez gets 3 days for retaliation. Of course, he said that wasn't a retaliatory pitch, but nonetheless, it's got the fire of a lot of people around here, and we'll go to Vince. Should we go to John first?
You go to John first. John is red hot, and I don't think we need to.
He's burning up.
To bridle him anymore.
He's got some connections too with the Houston broadcast.
First of all, I mean, I was away when it all went on, right? And so we actually sat here and we watched it actually on TV on the computer. And the thing that fires me up is he's going down the line and he's on the dugout side of the line, going in and running like you should be, and should be avoiding going right and maybe hook sliding or getting out of the way or. But he then takes a step inside the line and lowers his shoulder. Okay. Now, old school baseball, the way that we were brought up, that's what happened in the past. But now rules have changed, right? So he gets a suspension, right, for that. And A.J. Hinch doesn't get a suspension for that, right, because he didn't tell him what to do. It was just a natural reaction, right? So when it all went down, he comes up to the plate, and I'm like, here it goes. Like something's going to happen, and the bad thing about it, to be honest with you, is you don't have Anderson throwing 97. You got Ramirez up there who throws like an 88 mile an hour wiffle ball, right? So it's not really going to make a dent, right? Yes. So he throws 2 sliders away, and then he loses one up and in, right? And I guess the bitching of it all was it was up near the neck, right? It was up in the middle of the back. What's funny about the whole incident is that the guy who got hit, the guy who took out the catcher, was the guy who didn't have a problem with the whole thing, right? He didn't have a problem with the whole. He knew it was coming. He took it. He went to first base. And then all of a sudden you got some of the Astros chirping, and that's where Pujols turned around and kind of said, whoa, just – I think he's kind of saying, it's part of baseball. Just shut your mouth, right? Just
wear it.
No one's hurt. And that's the funny thing. He's like, he's patting Pujols on the side. I'm good. Everything's good, right? And then I read the next day that A.J. Hinch comes out and says, our guy got a suspension for an unintentional act. In my eyes, that was intentional because he went inside the base pass. If it was outside the base pass and he was trying to avoid and he hit him, that's unintentional. But when you go from the outside running down the line and then you jump across the line and lower your shoulder, I don't think that's unintentional. No. Okay, that's just my take on it.
Yeah.
So he says an unintentional act that got a free shot. We will see if there's discipline, and without discipline, there's not going to be any issue doing it the next time. If retaliations are in, cool, we're all aware. Right? So he's like, what is he? I just don't understand that he thinks it's unintentional. Like, that's what fires me up about this. Yeah. And not just that, our guy gets 3 games. He only got a game for lowering the shoulder, knocking a guy out with a concussion, and breaking a guy's nose. We hit a guy in the middle of the back, and we get 3 games, and our coach gets 1. That's not level playing field in my mind, right? Mm-hmm. And that's where I got fired up. Now, I have a good friend with the Astros. He thought it was very fair game. I didn't want to get into the, back and forth with him. He's played Major League Baseball for a lot of years. I kind of stepped to the side, but, After I saw the video, I saw him going from the outside of the base path to drastically crossing the line to lower his shoulder.
He could have stayed right where he was.
He could have stayed right where he was, did a hook slide, went around, maybe breezed him, maybe bumped. But when he took that step on the inside, that's where I kind of said, whoa, he crossed the line. And he calls it an unintentional act.
It's bull.
Right.
And my two problems with it are, number one, even under old school baseball rules, coming inside the baseline into the infield to take out the catcher, that was never okay. I mean, if the catcher was blocking the plate and you took him out, that was fine. Lucroy was nowhere near the plate. And all this nonsense about, he anticipated that Lucroy was going to catch the ball and come across that's bull. I mean, it's all just nonsense. He came inside, he lowered his shoulder, he hit the guy in the head, and it was an intentional. You're
not going to lower your shoulder if it's unintentional.
Slide. Slide.
Exactly.
Sliding is an intentional thing.
Right.
Right? That to me is intentional, right? Slide, right? If you slide into a guy's legs, that might be unintentional, right? If you slide and you knock a guy down, that's unintentional. He's not supposed to be in your path where you're sliding. But to come in head first,
shoulder lowered,
shoulder lowered into a guy's head, it never. Look, I don't have a dog in the fight, right? It never looked unintentional to me. It always looked intentional. And when I heard those broadcasters on MLB, the replay of it, the Astros broadcasters saying, they're going to look at it. He didn't mean to do that. No, he didn't mean to do that. They immediately, he didn't mean, I don't know what they were watching, right? And then immediately they come out and they say, you're out. And they were beside themselves. They couldn't believe it. And to me, I don't get it. It's like, what are you watching?
Yeah,
what
watching? What game are you at?
But apparently that's the narrative. It was unintentional. But even if it's unintentional and they knock the guy out, you're gonna wear one. You're gonna wear one. Somebody's cap is gonna spin, and Hinch has to know that.
And that's the other thing that we talked about is like if Lucroy grabs that ball and then comes across the line to meet him. He's right there. He deserves it. He's going to wear it.
Yeah.
But this kid went inside that line and took him out. And the other thing, too, is it's not a level playing field. Like you said, we lose our catcher, one, for a while.
Yeah.
Two, this kid gets 1 game suspension. Hinch gets nothing. We retaliate and throw an 88-mile-an-hour fastball in the middle of a guy's back, and we lose 3 games to a pitcher. Thank God he's a reliever, right? And a coach sitting because he said he was going to do it. 2 sliders away and 1 an upside. If we would have really wanted to do some disaster, we would have maybe brought in Anderson that's going to throw 97 and throw it in the middle of his back. We got a guy that's throwing it,
soft tosser.
Like Houston Street,
Let's remember, too, that he got LeCroy's up in his face. He broke his nose.
Right, exactly.
I mean,
and he calls it unintentional. I think that's the word that fires me up in a little bit. That was very intentional, that slide. Well, not even a slide, that takeout, right?
And some people are saying now that, he's going to be out 3 to 4 weeks just for the broken nose. And they say that concussion syndrome, you don't know what's going to happen.
He's going to have to go through testing constantly. It could be a totally different deal. Once he puts a mask on and gets down there, it could be much different,
Could be the end of his career.
I was supposed to have breakfast this morning with my guy, and I'm like, I just couldn't do it.
Well, I think, like I said before, I don't think it was very fair. I think Joe Torre should know better. Joe Torre was one of the great callers for hitting the batter. I mean, he gave his pitcher a few clues to who to hit. He's been on that end of the game. He should know better than
He's giving it the one this way.
Yeah, exactly. That's absurd.
And to me, that's not the right response from a championship squad. The right response from a championship squad, internally, if he wants to say, look, whatever, get the guys fired up. But for a championship squad, for a team that has just lost a guy to death, a young player to death, lost a young player to a bad injury, and then loses their catcher to your guy hitting him. Shut up. Shut up. Just wear it.
Yeah.
Just take it.
And that's what
Now,
Pujols
this is not
was
about,
and
how unfair, oh, poor us. It's like, shut up.
And
Right?
that's what Pujols. I think it was McCullers Jr. kind of chirped something they're saying.
Right.
And I think he was kind of saying that was a little high. And I think that's when Pujols went, "Whoa, wear it, just shut." And the guy who got hit is the first guy that said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, I'm okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
You guys don't need to run in from the bullpen. I'm okay."
Yeah.
Stop,
if
stop
Hinch
trying
is-
to. Yeah.
Yeah.
If he's walking to first and he's looking at the pitcher going, "What the hell was that all about?"
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden you got an
Right.
issue. But he
Right.
just went, "Okay."
He goes, "Yeah, I knew
all
it
right."
was coming. I'm taking it." And so for Hinch to come out and all breathing fire, and it's like, you know what? The Angels have a guy in the grave, a guy with a cast, and a guy on the disabled list because of you. And shut up. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah,
just
exactly.
shut up.
Yeah.
You keep quiet.
Yeah.
Have a little,
And I'll tell you,
class.
I think they tried to do this, and if you look at it right now, we've won 6 in a row, right, or 5 in a row, and they're struggling coming out of the All-Star break. They don't have a legit 3, 4, 5 guy anymore. They're just banking on Cole and Verlander going 1-2 and then kind of mixing it all in because they got their shortstops on the DL. I mean, they've got some issue. And I'm thinking, and it was a great point by the Angels crew last night when they said, "Hey, look, the Angels need to settle down here. They can let this get out of hand and let them grab the momentum just based on them possibly winning this argument. Just kind of let's go back to playing baseball." And I'm wondering if that's what the Astros did. They decided to go ahead and start chirping a little bit, get their guys all fired up, and then try to create a comeback, because they were down 6-0 at the time, or 6-1. So I can see that, that kind of an angle, right? But again, like Vince said, just wear it and just go to first. You're the guy that got hit had no problem with it. Even the first base coach was like in Pujols' face going, whoa, we're okay here. We're okay here. No need.
You might be okay, but those guys are barking.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
They need to shut
You
their
need to
mouths.
turn around and tell your boys to shut up, right? But obviously he's not going to do that.
And of course, he's still playing. He's appealed the 2-game suspension, so he's still playing.
Yeah,
Right.
and he will. Yeah, of course.
Right.
And they'll cut it-
and
they'll cut it
obviously,
to 1.
or do we have a chance? We have a chance to appeal too, right? Correct?
Yeah, they'll cut it to 2, probably. They might cut his to 1, but that's a bad injury, so I don't think it will be cut, frankly. And I don't think there's any way. Look, AJ Hinch.
No, I mean our guy. Do you think our guy will get cut from 3 to 1 or 3 to 2?
He could. I mean, as a reliever, that's a pretty. Was he starting or relieving?
No, he's
Relieving.
relieving, mid-relief.
Yeah, he was relieving. That's not a big suspension for a middle reliever, right? I mean, that's about average, right? If you're a starter and you hit a guy, you're probably going to miss 4,
Right, yeah,
right? Because you're going to try to make him miss a start,
Yeah.
right?
That's a start.
Yeah, so I don't think it'll. I guess it's possible that as a reliever, you might see the guy in back-to-back games. So 2 would have him out for.
And
2
look, if I'm going to
games.
appeal this as the Angels, I use the video. I mean, it's very, very open to the eye. Like what this kid has done. Like that's what I don't get by Joe Torre is like, did you watch the video? He was running down the base path and decided to go inside.
Yeah.
Like you're just. I don't think you're seeing what we're seeing.
Yeah.
And
he didn't slide and take the guy's legs out, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't try to avoid him and
Right.
open up. He curled up and went for the
Lowered that shoulder and
and
Went
by
for
the
the
way,
knockdown.
what we grew up watching baseball, right? We're old school guys. That is a regular play for us. We're used to that.
If he's in the baseline, but Lucroy was never. I mean, Lucroy was in the line.
But back in the day, though, they saw a guy and they just took him out, right? The guy just tried to hold on to it, right? It was just unless you probably went after the guy's head. I don't know. I just remember it being more physical back in the day.
I do too, but only if the guy was in the line with the ball, right? I mean, if he was in your way with the ball, or even if the ball was coming and he was trying to block you, you'd take him out. But Lucroy was never within 3 feet of the plate.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, he was sort of up the line and inside. He was never blocking the plate. I understand their argument that they thought he was going to catch the ball and come across the plate. Yeah, that's an argument, but it's like that's not what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's not what he did. That's not where your guy hit him. He didn't block the plate. He wasn't even in the base path.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Talk a little about Tyler Skaggs, about the Angels' return home after his death and the great pregame and postgame memorials. The great game, the no-hitter to boot. I think it was all a great tribute. Debbie was there through a strike. We should sign her up as a reliever right now.
Yeah.
I think it was a great tribute. The fans laid a lot of flowers and greeting cards out front under the Big A. The players all put their jerseys on the mound after the game was over. It was a real tearjerker, and I think it was a great response by the Angels. I wanted to say one other thing. We'll talk about that for a minute. But my son, who also is our producer engineer, found a story on Space Halo, courtesy of Stat by Stat. The last combined no-hitter in California, Orioles and A's, July 13th, 1991, the day that Tyler Skaggs was born.
Wow.
I mean, that is, how ironic is that?
Well, I think it was a special night, no doubt about it. But there was a lot of stars were aligned, especially with that whole deal. Like, they score 7 runs in the first inning. They score 13 runs to win the ball game. His birthday is 7/13. There's rumors having it that Trout's home run was 454 feet, and his number's 45. There's a lot of different things that are going on. It really had a kind of a moment of, like, you felt like the kid was there, type of deal. And it's just what was really emotional about it is how the commentators, Gubazon, these guys were losing it in the booth.
They love the kid.
So that's what's just so weird about this whole deal, right? Like, what the hell happened? I mean, you're telling me that this kid's like the kid next door, the nicest guy in the world, and how does a 27-year-old kid just wake up in his in his hotel room and he's done? I mean, again, they say 90 days to 4 months or whatever it's going to be, but just something's really weird about this whole thing. But yeah, it was Vinny and I and a group of guys were going back and forth saying, this is crazy how this is how it all went down and how emotional it was with the jersey. And that was, by the way, that was just kind of a spirit of the moment thing. That wasn't planned.
No, it wasn't.
So I don't know who spearheaded that. I don't know if it was Haney or somebody like that, but
yeah.
It was a wild situation. Great play by the kid playing third base who got called up. What is it?
Matthias?
Yeah.
Great play.
Pena thought he gave up a home run in the last and ends up staying in the ballpark. Just a wild night. It was really cool. And
it was one of the most moving things I've ever seen. I mean, just when you think you watch baseball and you've never seen anything, something gives you chills and brings you to tears. And the tribute was just amazing. And from the very first moment, it could have gone two ways for the Angels. It could have gone really, really bad. And it's like, how can you expect them to play on a night like that?
Exactly.
But to have his mom have the courage, with her grief at that moment, go out there, throw a strike, and lead the way. Unbelievable.
Yeah. They say they haven't touched his locker. His locker's exactly the way it was the last time he wore his uniform.
They did the same thing with Nick Pasquale at UCLA. They never touched the locker. Hung his jersey there the whole time. So
it was very, very unfortunate, untimely, and disturbing, and a mystery.
It's still it will be a mystery all the way until somebody comes up with some idea. Yeah. Or some answer.
Let's talk a little bit about the Angels' response has been tremendous in this series against. Unbelievable.
I know you've written about these younger kids, starting to raise their games, and I think for these guys to be in contention, they're going to have to. Yeah. It is what it is. I forget how to say their Renfero or Renifo or I don't know how to say the kid's name. But the kid playing second base is starting to hold his own. It's allowing us to play Fletcher at third base, and that kid's just a scrappy little kid. He can play anywhere. He's played the outfield. He's kind of like a Dodger, to be honest with you. And and they're kind of fitting the pieces here and there, but you're still going to have the Peñas and these guys step it up to throw great innings. Haney's going to keep you in a game here and there. What's his the kid we paid $11 million is a joke. Harvey has just been a joke.
Cahill's coming back now. He's thrown a couple of good.
But I think that's where I think Cahill's good. You know what I mean? I don't know if he's a starter. So depth is always going to be an issue with the Angels. But if you keep Trout and Pujols on fire and you keep setting the table, I mean, we're going to be in a lot of games. I mean, this is going to be a nice little. Does Verlander pitch tomorrow?
We miss him.
We miss him. Okay, so we get Cole tonight. And then
they used openers in the first two games.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they're jumping on the Angels bandwagon.
I was a little upset with Haney last night. They gave him, 6 runs. They get 6 runs in the first inning last night.
5 or 6, yeah.
And he can't even go 5 innings.
He threw
103 pitches in 4 and
a
third. Yeah. He's got to step his game up. He's got to take charge and be the lead dog in that rotation.
Suarez is not this overpowering pitcher either. And he's going to have to step it up and do some things. But again, can this last all the way through? And the A's are starting to catch the Astros. Now they're only 4.5 games behind. Yeah. So, again, what would we say at the very beginning? It'd be lucky for them to be 500, right? And that's kind of where we see this team. And, hopefully you can maybe find some hidden gems that are cheap, that you can continue to go into next year and be able to pay some other guys. But I think you guys have mentioned, I mean, it's just absolutely amazing what Mike Trout does on a daily basis. It really is crazy.
Yeah, and the thing for me is that it just goes to show a team that you play with a little heart and you win 5 games in a row and you're right back in the race. Is it sustainable? I don't know. I don't think so. An objective observer says no, but if you can get a little momentum, and some of those young guys continue to hit, right? And they you get some luck and you miss a Verlander, right? Or you miss the ace of the next series, and these kids get a little more confidence, and then it takes a while for the league to get the book on them. You string together a few more streaks, and you hang around.
They've got some good news coming up here. J.C. Ramirez, who was their top starter in 2017, won 11 games for him, and he's been out with Tommy John. Right. He's made eight or 9 rehab appearances. He's supposed to be back this week or this weekend. And Kenyon Middleton, who was their closer 2 years ago, went out with Tommy John. He is going to start some rehab. So they may be getting two arms back for the stretch run that could come in very handy.
You think some of these kids that like the kid Canning actually got off to a great start, but his last 5 starts he's 1-4 with a 6.35 ERA. His last outing only lasted 1.1 innings. So those little hidden gems are things that you need to continue to go down. And I don't know if it's a mechanical thing. I don't know if they figured him out. I don't know what it is, but there was a lot of walks in his last game, and so we need to get him back on to the first 3 games that we saw him pitch. Where it was very comfortable that he could get us to the 6th inning, and when I think he was only giving up a run or 2. So that we need to get him back on track too.
Exactly.
So.
Let's talk a little bit about the Dodgers, and I still am of the opinion that they need a closer.
You think?
I think without a doubt they've got the best team in baseball.
No,
they've proven that with the most wins. But they're not going to win the World Series if they're going to take a 2-run lead to the 9th inning, and the closer's going to give up 3 runs. They can't. That can't happen.
Well, the issue is, I think, command of his pitches, its velocity. He's stubborn. I mean, he's stubborn. He continues to try and some of it could be the catchers as well, and not exerting their will and trying to impose some order there. But he was throwing some cutters that just didn't cut.
Didn't move.
They just didn't move at all. He took one off the ankle, so he's going to be sitting out tonight. Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be those sides of the Dodgers where the sky's falling. The sky's falling. We've got a big enough lead to where we can take a little time to get this right. But Kenley is one of those chap-ass guys, right? Who came out and sort of felt like pay me, and they paid him.
Right.
And then he was saying, I'm one of the leaders in this clubhouse. It's like 1A and 1B. It's like Kershaw and me, and it's like, no, not quite. And I think he still feels that way. And Roberts would say things about, he needs to work on some mechanics. And they'd ask Kenley in an interview, and Kenley would say, no, I don't. It's not about my mechanics, right? Just wasn't throwing well tonight. And I hate that.
And the night before.
Sort of thing. The night before. I hate that sort of thing, right? Because you can never have that. He doesn't feel like the kind of guy you can have the come to Jesus meeting where Honeycutt doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who can give the come to Jesus. And Roberts was a fiery ball player, but he's still sort of a player's manager, right? And it's always going to be, it's okay, Kenley. You can get there. He's not going to. I don't know if behind closed doors there's enough where it's like, okay, we've tried it your way, and they're hitting bombs off you. Stop shaking your catchers off. Stop throwing pitches that don't break, and try something else, right? That's the thing that still worries me, because these are not. I mean, that's a high leverage situation in a not so high leverage time of year, right? So I'm not too worried about that. But it doesn't bode well, right? The inconsistency. A couple of days, it feels like it's like this carousel of for a while it was Kelly who just couldn't, now he's really consistent, and now he's probably going to be the closer tonight if that's needed, or if they can even get back on the field after the rain delay.
That's right.
And then you thought, well, we could just give the ball to Baez and he'll be the bridge, and he gives up 2 dongs, 2 nights ago, right? So it's like, okay, well, and in a situation in a game where you feel like, yeah, that's the team, that's the scrappy team that can come back from 6-1 and win. Yeah, the bullpen is a coin toss sometimes, right? I'm never comfortable when Kenley comes in. There was a time in his career when you would just go
automatic,
lights out,
automatic, lights out. And that was when his velocity was 94, 95, 96. Now he's nowhere near that. I mean, he might cut loose 92 or 93.
And his cutter looks like it's lost 2 or 3 inches. Yeah.
It's flat. And then some of his pitch choices. Again, I can't tell if it's bad pitch calling from the catchers or if he's shaking them off. It's frustrating as a fan to say, you've thrown 18 pitches in a game we're leading by 3 runs. What are you doing?
Why?
What are you doing? And then other times when he feels like he's trying to challenge guys and they're just hitting bombs. No, nobody's afraid of Kenley Jansen in the box.
And for the Dodgers to win the World Series, you got to have Kershaw have a great postseason, and Jansen's going to have to be able to close.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that even if you extend your starters, right? You get to the postseason, the starters extend and get you 7 innings or 6, and it's still a coin toss whether Baez. Baez has been very, very good. Don't get me wrong. That was an aberration, but you just hate to see that sort of thing. If a guy gorks one, or if he's trying to be too fine, it's fine. But, I mean, they're just grooving fastballs. I mean, just Baez, for as hard as he can throw, he was just grooving them, And even Cali, that he's looked better. I mean, he's looked terrific the last month. There's still times when he just throws too many pitches. He just throws too many pitches, and he puts guys on when he's in a safe situation. Trust me, that was a great shutdown in the 12th, against the Red Sox. It was a great win. It was a great series win. After the blowhard Dan Shaughnessy says they're frauds. And it's like, you know what? You get till October to continue to say that. You're in 3rd place, 4th place.
You're trying to make the playoffs.
You're trying to get
better worry about your own team.
To the wild cards. It's like, get your lips off my Dodgers, and try a new rug, because that one is bad. So Shaughnessy's a fraud. His hair's a fraud. And I just don't get it. It's like people in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. Dodgers have problems, right? But they're not frauds. Right. They're absolutely not frauds. They're up and down. They're inconsistent at times. Kenley Jansen is not the same dominant pitcher that he was, but they're not frauds.
Yeah.
So and here come the Giants, right? So the Giants are starting to play well. They won again today. Do you still ship off Baumgartner, or
They
now,
swept Colorado 4 in a row,
or now do you kind of say, hey, let's just kind of see how this goes a little bit longer?
Depends on how far they are out of the
wild card. Yeah, exactly.
Nobody's going to catch the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Right.
Here's the thing with that for me. Farhan Zaidi is a smart guy, right? I mean, he's a supremely smart guy, and it's his first, kind of like general managership where there's nobody sort of looking over his shoulder, where it's this thing with him and Andrew Friedman. He's had some good gigs, but this is his first full gig. You can't, but he's a measured guy, and I don't think he's going to make a mistake. Getting rid of Bumgarner and getting guys might not pan out, right, with the guys you get, but it's not the wrong thing to do. It's absolutely not the wrong thing to do. And I don't care how close they think they're going to get to the wild card. Getting rid of Bumgarner is not the wrong thing to do.
Yeah.
It's the right thing to do. Get rid of him. Get rid of him. Get rid of him while you still can get something from him.
Well, he's got
because
value.
you think right now your wild card's going to come from the East and the Central, because the Cubs, Brewers, and Cardinals are probably going to battle for those two, and then you got the Nationals coming now at the Braves. They're only 6 back, but they have 50 wins. So Giants only have 47 wins.
Yeah, the Giants are still in last, right? And they've got.
They're not.
They're not.
No.
Padres.
So it's the Dodgers got a 14 game over the Diamondbacks, and the Giants are only a game and a half behind the Diamondbacks.
And the Padres were at a half game or a game behind
Padres. So it's Padres are 2.5 behind the Diamondbacks. Rockies.
So they're a game back of the Giants.
Correct. Yeah. Sorry. I mean, yeah, that could go all over the place.
Yeah, and again, you got to play in your division, and they still have a bunch of teams that they need to beat that they're not better than.
How about the Rays, huh? Scrappy.
Rays are hanging in there.
Yeah. Here come the Indians.
Yeah, we knew that was coming.
Yeah.
And there go the Twins.
But right now, if you're looking at the wild card right now, the Rays and the A's are getting it.
They got the top 2 spots.
Yeah.
What about the Red Sox?
Red Sox only have 51 wins. So Rays have 56 wins, and the Indians, Athletics have 55.
Okay.
Tell you, I mean, you got to give it to the Rays and the A's. It's just low budget.
Yeah, that's great.
Scrappy.
Moneyball.
Believe in their kids,
Yep.
So. Yeah, there's always going to be a place for Moneyball teams, but yeah, that only gets you so far, right? That'll get you into the dance, but you won't get to dance with the pretty girl,
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Let's change to football a little bit. I see that our buddy Melvin Gordon is a second coming of Levon Bell. He wants a contract before the camp opens on the 24th, or he's going to say he's going to sit. What are your thoughts on? I know these running backs their life expectancy is 3.5 years.
Yeah.
Look at the big
I
money.
mean, there's lots of adages, in football, and one of the newer adages is never give a running back a second contract, right? That's the adage.
That's the Rams.
Again, unless there's only a couple of exceptions, right? I think Ezekiel Elliott, Todd Gurley, those guys, probably deserve them. Melvin Gordon.
Well, I'll tell you, this almost fired me up a little bit more than the Angel
Whoops, here we go.
deal. Yeah.
Get the fire extinguisher out.
Ooh. Well, I mean, what's really frustrating about the thing is you pay these kids to be, you pay them nice money, and then they have the option to go, nope, I'm going to sit out until you pay me more.
Yeah.
I just don't feel that's right.
Yeah,
Maybe in his last year, I don't know. I think there's 2 more years on his contract, if I'm right.
I'll always argue this with anybody who takes the side against the players in this. Football's brutal. Football has no guaranteed contracts, really no guaranteed money per se. They can cut you at any time and your contract goes away. It's the least protected of any sport for the player, and I just have no problem with a player who wants to hold out. I just have no problem with it. That's me personally, because there are just very few protections for guys like that. Melvin Gordon's not a kind of guy who gets guaranteed money.
There you go, right? So I understand Zeke Elliott, he had 1,300 yards rushing. He's the one of the elites, right? There's not a lot of them, like you said, Vince.
Yeah.
But you're asking a guy.
And I'm not saying the Cowboys should give him elite money now, because I think you got to weigh whether it's Dak that you give the money to or whether it's Zeke. So, and Amari Cooper.
Well, yeah. So this is the 14th best running back by statistics, right? Rushing yards, right? And he's the 10th best receiver running back out of the backfield, right? And he's acting like he's the best running back in the league. And I agree. The longevity is about 5 years, right, for a running back. So I understand, but it's almost like every third year you might want to have to go try to get your next Melvin Gordon, because that's what's going to happen. These guys are going to say, I'm done, right?
Yeah, no,
and then there's going to be a team that's going to pay him. There is going to be somebody that's going to pay him. But look what happened. The Rams paid Gurley. Now he's got this little knee issue, right? Unless
a little, depending on who you're talking to.
But unless it's a running back by committee type of offense, and like Gurley was almost an every down kind of back because he catches the ball so well
and was a good blocker.
Right? Yeah. To let these guys last longer, you have to have 2 or 3 guys that can either. You got a third down guy, you got a guy that maybe can take over as a running back just in case a guy goes down, but. You got to be deep there, and that's going to find these kind of no names. Is it the Rams that got the kid out of Memphis, or was it the Chargers?
No, the Rams.
The Rams,
yeah.
And they speak very highly of this kid, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, there you go. I thought that was a great draft pick by them, because that kid's a kid that could fill the role real quick, or take time away from Gurley to let him say, "Hey, this is our third back guy." And we'll teach him how to block. Or
He's
whatever.
a little undersized, but he he could still be a change of pace,
like the kid from New Orleans, right? So. I don't know. I'm frustrated. I don't. Why all of a sudden now? Look.
That's
again, the other thing. I'm sorry. Is this a strategy about the draft? Like, they don't come and talk to you about, like, hey, I'm going to sit, so they can draft a guy. They kind of sit back and wait, and then they go, okay. Oh, by the way, camp's coming up around the corner. I ain't coming until you guys renegotiate. And he's kind of getting a little cocky. I mean, he's kind of saying they'll trade for me, no problem, or you know what, they'll break down and pay me. Like, he's saying that kind of stuff. And he's saying it like he's Todd Gurley, and he's not.
And look, it's one of those things where it's sort of like in this political climate, it's like, you know what, I don't agree with you, but I'll defend to the death your right to say whatever it is you want to say.
Right.
And it's like, I defend his right to demand a new contract, but I also agree that I don't think he deserves one. He can ask for it, and that's part of how it all works. But the Chargers would be silly to give him the kind of money that he's asking for.
Yeah. Does he possibly deserve some more money? Yes, but he doesn't deserve the big money, right? And here you go in where we really just upgraded our defense and going into a strong, looking to have a strong year against, the AFC West. That is, it's okay. It's not great. So you have a chance to win the conference, and now you have to deal with this political BS.
Yeah, some of it is absolute saber rattling, right? I mean, it's like, okay, you sit down with your agent and you go, well, how little will you take? It's like, well, I'll take this much, right? It's like, well, then okay, let's go out there boisterous and ask for this much, because you're only getting this, and they're going to come in here, and then we're going to get what we want, right? So they'll get to where they want. I mean, but if he's serious about what he wants, see you next Tuesday.
Right. Yeah. Raiders.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That kind of got me fired up at how it's all of a sudden just comes out.
Wonder what Philip Rivers thinks about all this.
Well, he'll take the.
He's a pro. He'll take whoever you put behind him, right?
Yeah, but he'll
hand
also.
it to whoever.
Here's the deal. You're a player, right? You got to back your players. You don't go jump onto the the GM side of this. You just you deal with what they're going to give you, and you try to make it better, or you support your guy and say, I hope he gets what he deserves, and you go on from there. He'll just take the political route, and that's what they all do.
And then he'll go make a new baby, and
right, and he'll have his 10th kid, and and have to buy another house because he's got a small village. So.
The NBA trade deadline is behind us, but there's still a lot of talk.
Thank
Lakers,
goodness.
Clippers, and like I think I wrote on the topics, I was listening last Saturday to the AM 570, which is a Clipper station, and that was the day of, either Saturday or Sunday, that was the day of Anthony Davis's press conference. This was before the press conference. That's all they were talking about on the Clipper station. Anthony Davis, his press conference, and here they are. Still nobody's talking about the Chargers. I mean, 710, which is a Lakers station, is all Lakers all the time, and now the Clipper station is also talking more Lakers than Clippers. So, like you said last week, they need banners in a building.
Yeah,
that's what's.
And they need multiple ones.
Yes.
There's a lot of work to do there, right? I mean, that's a terrific team on paper, right? Mm-hmm. But there's something about LeBron James and Anthony Davis that stirs the imagination, even across the hallway, in the Clippers locker room. So I get it. I get it. It's but again, the Clippers need to just bide their time, right? On paper, they're a better team. Mm. Do the Lakers have are the Lakers' two best players better than the Clippers' two best players? It's close, but probably yes.
I say yes.
But overall, on paper, that's a better Clippers team. I mean, if you're thinking who's going to defend the point in a 4-point game with 3 minutes left, I think there's a question mark on the Lakers side. There's no question on the Clippers side. There just isn't, and that always bodes well for a team that's trying to get a championship. I'm not saying the Lakers are going to be terrible on defense, but they're pretty terrible on defense at the point right now. All right, the whole team might be pretty good, but I don't know who that guy is going to be. Right? I mean, listen, if it's DeMarcus Cousins in the at center, or JaVale McGee, and I'm the opponent, and I need to come back from down 6 or 7. I'm just pick and rolling on those guys all day, right? Yeah. And if I got to get past the guard, Rajon Rondo, Quinn Cook, Caruso's probably the best defender of the three.
Yeah.
No, I mean there's some holes. Yeah. It's gonna be a fun team, but there's gonna be some holes, right? So, Rondo's terrible, and Cousins has lost a step, and he was never a tremendous defender. He can still defend a little bit, but there's still questions.
So you said in your notes, if the Lakers fail, what is a fail to you?
Well, the way Bob Plink was talking, there was a championship or bust.
Yeah, I don't think
he has to say that. He has to say that because we've only got technically only have Anthony Davis for 1 year, right?
Yeah, true. That's right.
So you have to say that. I mean, if you want to keep Anthony Davis engaged and you want to keep him hungry, you've got to say, look, we understand and we'll negotiate later, but right now we got you for 1 year, and so that's what we're after. He has to say that. So he has to say that anything less than a championship is failure, right? That I don't disagree with that mantra. To me, it doesn't feel that way. And if Anthony Davis signs an extension, or he indicates that he wants to stay and he's going to re-sign with the Lakers, then making it to the playoffs, winning a series, looking good, and then realizing where your holes are, and then going after filling those holes, to me that feels like the right thing. The Lakers have a lot of different players, and I again, it's a different situation than last year where I didn't know how any of those guys fit. The Lance Stevenson and Michael Beasley. Just some weird, and even JaVale McGee, and Rondo. Those guys are back. And so, I don't think failure is not winning a championship, right? I don't think that's a failure.
Yeah, I agree.
A failure is not re-signing Anthony Davis.
Right.
To me, that's the failure. So you got to do everything you can. And I don't think Anthony Davis is sitting there saying, we need to win a championship for me to stay.
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
But anything that leads to Anthony Davis even considering leaving, that's a failure.
And you have LeBron for 2 more years, correct?
He's
Yeah.
and then
An
I think he's got an
option
option after
after
next
that.
year.
But if he's really enjoying this, you think he'll stay for another couple years after that, or do you think he's going to retire?
No, I don't think he'll retire.
He won't retire.
He'll take a lesser role, but I don't think he will retire.
He should be in great shape this year, boy. He hasn't
Yeah.
played, last half of the season. Didn't play in the playoffs. He's been playing over 100 games a year
Mm-hmm.
for the last 8 years. Well, since when? 2006? He's been in the
Yeah, there's a
playoffs.
lot of minutes on that body.
This year he's had plenty of time to repair his body, refresh his body, work out, get him in.
Mhm.
I think he's gonna have a monster year. I think he's gonna come in great shape, ready to hungry, and I think he's gonna have a monster.
Yeah,
monster year.
I think for the Lakers, the question is, where can guys improve defensively, right? I think and again, some of that is scheme, some of that is team defense. I think Vogel's very good at that sort of thing.
Yeah, who's their defensive mind?
Vogel.
Okay,
Yeah, Vogel's
okay.
their guy. I mean, he's
Okay.
he's the guy. He's the guy. He has been at alternating times seen as a very good offensive mind and as well as a very good defensive mind. So he's very well rounded, and I think I'm eager to see what the scheme is and what the plan is and how they play it defensively.
Because Jason Kidd's not going to be your defensive-minded guy, right?
No, well, no.
He's going to be your free throw specialist,
There's
right?
just nobody young for him to coach. Kuzma, maybe. I don't know. But again, LeBron bringing up the ball, he does that anyway, right? So everybody's freaking out about him being a point guard. He's not really going to be a point guard. He's not guarding the point guard, and he's not going to be guarding the point. And he brings the ball up anyway half the time. So that's just how LeBron works. I mean, that's how we've seen him for many, many years, right? It's what happens once they get it up court, right? And if they get into the sets and the pick and roll, and just wait, right? Just wait until you've got LeBron drive, draw, dishing to somebody who can actually hit a three-pointer with some consistency and some regularity.
That's what they're going to really need
And
this
that's
year.
exactly what they need to do. That's what he's the best at. That's what they're going to do. Kuzma's, again, I started thinking about this, and we started seeing Kuzma on this offensive trajectory, right? I think that stabilizes, and I think any Laker fan who looks at it and says, if he can improve his defense and improve some of his mid-range game, he finishes at the hole amazingly. If he can hit with more consistency from the perimeter and spread the floor, then you've got a guy like Klay Thompson, not exactly like Klay Thompson, but that can spread the floor, hit the three, and also put it on the floor and go to the goal. If Kuzma improves those games, improves his number, but only gets 15 or 16 points a game, I'm totally happy with that. If he can rebound and get some assists and he improves his defense along the way, that's a win for the Lakers, right? That's a win for the Lakers. But there's so many other guys around, right? I mean, you even start forgetting, right? Who's going to be playing?
Exactly.
Right? They got Jared Dudley off the bench. They've got Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is back. They've got Avery Bradley, right?
Yeah, they got some guys.
There are some guys there, and even in that, we start to forget Danny Green again, who's going to start, right? Who I always forget. Davis and LeBron are going to get their. They're going to get their points, but it's what are we going to see from the other guys, right? And
Where do you think Chris Paul's going to end up?
God.
They were talking about sending him to Miami. Miami wants him. He was going to get. I think the GM at OKC wanted 4 or 5 draft picks. He's going to end up with about 50 draft picks the way he's going. But yeah, I think Paul. I think he might end up in Miami. How are James Harden and Russell Westbrook going to?
That's a weird. That's a weird. It's really weird.
They never got along in OKC.
Yeah, that's going to be really
I
weird.
don't understand.
Yeah.
What's behind that trade?
Yeah, I don't understand how that's all going to go down because you got two guys that are going to want the ball.
That's right.
Right, and you're gonna, and I think you got to think that Westbrook's going to be going in and going, oh yeah, this is your team. Let me know what you want to do, but his ego is gigantic, right?
Really?
So
I mean, you think that? Have you heard that? Because I wouldn't think that. Have you heard people saying that Westbrook is going to be sort of like?
Well, I would
deferring?
assume you're coming into a team and you know it's not your team. Would you assume that Westbrook's got traded to Houston saying, "Step back, this is my team"?
No, but I think there's a guy who says I scored. I averaged a triple double, and I'm going to help make this team better. So you better listen to me a little bit. I don't think a guy who averages a triple double comes into a team and is phased in any way by James Harden. He's played with him before. He knows him. Maybe they have a good relationship. There's one ball and two of them, and it's that never ends well.
Yeah,
because Westbrook doesn't like to share as much as people think,
he doesn't.
and Harden does. But if Harden doesn't think that ball's coming back to him,
he's not going to let it go.
How often do you think he's going to let it go? Right, right, exactly.
Dan Tony's going to have.
He's going to have his hands full there.
He will. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be a disaster.
He might have to go back to the move it or shoot it, sort of
Yeah.
Run the clock down to maybe 16. That's it, right? Move it or shoot it.
One last note on the Lakers. They still have one spot open. Any ideas?
I've got my fingers crossed for Iguodala.
I'd love to have him, but I don't know how they can do that.
He takes less money.
What's his name? I can never remember. What's the guy? The black guy on ESPN? Can never remember. He's on.
Oh, Stephen A. Smith.
Stephen A. said he's gone.
He's not the only one.
Yeah, he said
Okay,
he's gone. He's gone. He's gone to the Lakers. Of course, he said that
well,
Kawhi was coming to the Lakers too. That didn't work out too
yeah.
well. Yeah, I'd like to get Iguodala, but I don't know how they would. They'd have to trade for him. I don't know what. They have nothing to trade. They could trade. Give him Jason.
They've got a couple of guys.
Jason Kidd and
Yeah, we'll throw in Kidd. We signed KCP. Somebody might want him. I don't know. It's a pretty big contract, but somebody might want him. I don't know.
All right, we finally got the MLS match we've been looking for all season coming up Friday night when the Galaxy host LAFC.
Oh, there we go.
This is what I've been waiting for all season.
It's went Friday night?
Friday night at the what do they call that place now? In
Something
Carson?
Health.
Oh, is it on Carson?
It's in Carson.
It's the Something Health.
Yeah.
I can't remember it either.
The Galaxy have actually fallen to third. Seattle passed them by 1 point with a win this weekend, but still, the LAFC's 46 points. Seattle's 35. The Galaxy are 34. It's just a runaway.
Mm-hmm.
But still,
how much longer in the season?
They play forever.
Yeah, they've got
play
a few more.
forever.
Yeah.
It seems like they have no off season. Take a couple of weeks off and they play.
Well, don't they do that also in the
in these
European
tournaments? Then they're right
Premier?
back
I don't even know what
the
cup they're
Premiership.
usually playing for. It's like it's crazy.
Yeah, sometimes you don't know if they're
Europa,
in the
I'm
Champions
like,
League. Or,
Chelsea versus Barcelona. I'm like, that doesn't sound right.
But the LAFC couldn't beat them last year. I think they tied. They tied and they lost.
That place will be rocking.
Yeah, that was a great game. That Ibrahimovic would.
Yeah, and they've added for next year. They're going to add some safe standing.
Oh, so you could stand
Galaxy, yeah, so they can bring in more people.
Yeah,
that's
that place will be going crazy.
Yeah, it will be. I'm gonna have to watch that one.
Yeah, going up, John.
The Derby.
When are you going up?
The LA Derby.
Yeah.
Yeah, Derby. John, do you want to preview not the British Open, but it's just
the Open Championship.
The Open Championship.
Yeah. Royal Portrush, Northern Ireland. Hasn't been in Ireland for a long, long time. But all the players are just wowed by the golf course. Very happy for Ireland to be able to host the Open Championship. It's where Rory grew up. It's where Darren Clark grew up. It's where Graham McDowell grew up. So there's been no negative talk at all about this, how the course is set up. It looks like they're going to be playing in some wet weather the whole entire week. So who's the better mutter of them all is going to be the way to go. So I think the wind is only going to be as high as 9 to 10 miles an hour. So they're not going to see drastic issues with that. Although hitting out of wet rough is not fun to do. So you're going to have to be able to drive your golf ball good. And from that point on, these guys, they have no problem playing in wet. If you give them wet and 25-mile-an-hour winds, they start waving the white flag.
How long is that course, and what's par on there?
It's par 72. They actually took out the 17th and 18th hole. I played the North of Ireland Championships there back in 1990. Wow. And that has actually gone away. Once they got the rights to have the Open, they had to get rid of the 17th, 18th hole because that's where the fan fest, that's where all of the stands and all that kind of stuff to go enter the golf course and all that kind of stuff's from. So they went and created the 7th and 8th hole, par 5 and a par 4. The crazy thing about it is guys like Tiger Woods have never played there before. Now, they used to go and play in Ireland all the time, but they played down the Southwest if they were prepping for the Open Championship. So they did such a phenomenal job that guys like Tiger came in and said, what are the new holes? So they made the new holes look like they've been there for 100 years. So they did a great job in designing the redesigning that golf course. So one of the favorites that I've had, I actually said this back in January, that I thought he had a great chance of winning this week. Not too happy with the way he's prepped for it, but Brooks Koepka, I like, and the fact that I like him is that his caddy is growing up on that golf course. His caddy's shot in 65 on that golf course. Wow. So his caddy is just going to say, you hit it there. So the guy is going in with really a really kind of quiet mind. He's not going to have to overthink at all. He's just going to be listening to where his caddy's going to tell him to hit it. And from that point on, he'll probably help him read his putts, read his chips, everything. So it's a big edge, right? Now, him hanging out the ESPYs the week before, I don't know if that was the right prep, right? So he's coming out and saying, I really don't practice that much.
Yeah, I heard that.
All this kind of stuff, which was kind of a little weird. Now, he has found himself some type of a plan on how he handles majors. And obviously, it's been very successful, right?
Right.
So I steer towards him, although if it was me, I would have been over probably on Wednesday or Thursday the week before, maybe in Ireland or Scotland, just playing links golf courses to get the mix of just bounces and stuff like that. Got myself over jet lag and then kind of slid in. I think he slid in on Saturday, which still gives you enough time to prep for it, but I don't know. That's just me. I would have done it a little bit different. I like John Rahm a little bit. John Rahm won the Irish Open 2 weeks prior. He's well loved in Ireland, even though he's Spanish. He's won the Irish Open 2 of the last 3 years. And the last year he came in 4th. So he loves the golf courses over there. He feels very comfortable over there. The people are going to support him over there because of what he's done in the Irish Open. And actually, I was at the Irish Open and this year, and the way he responded to questions and how he answered everything, he could run for prime minister. I mean, that's how much they love him there. They loved Seve, and now they're starting to love John Rahm. So I like him. Ricky Fowler, he missed the cut last week in the Scottish by a shot. He shot 4 under his last round. He had just a mediocre first round. Ricky does play well in the wind. Ricky likes link-style golf courses. He's played well in the British, now the Open Championship in the past. I just kind of see him as a guy that, if he's going to win a major, I think it's usually going to be the Open Championship or like a PGA. So I like him. I took Justin Thomas. I like Justin Thomas due to the fact that he played really strong in the Scottish Open. He went over there 3 or 4 days prior to the Scottish Open starting. So he went over and played a bunch of golf courses in Scotland prior with his dad and got used to it. Then he went off and played pretty good. It looks like his wrist is okay from the injury he had earlier in the year. So I like the way his game is being played right now over there on those kind of golf courses. He hits it far. That's a guy that I think could be somebody. You could probably get good odds on him. My sleeper, after I wrote this down and then I found out he was playing with Tiger Woods for 2 days, but I kind of like Matt Wallace. He's an English guy who's been playing really well lately. He's a pit bull. He's a fighter. He's a street fighter. He'll show you his emotions on the golf course, but the kid can flat strike the golf ball and play. It's just like, is he going to get caught up in the whole Tiger Woods situation?
Right.
Another sleeper, not sleeper, but another guy but the putter scares me a little bit, is Tommy Fleetwood. Drives the ball phenomenally, strikes the golf ball great, and the putter's just suspect right now. So I'm kind of steering away from him. But I don't know. And there's guys like Justin Rose and Tiger Woods, and some of these guys are Rory McIlroy. So Rory McIlroy, it's his home course.
Right.
But, Rory's never been really successful in links-style golf courses. And then you got Rory, he probably knows every other person that's in the stands, right? So it's, I don't really like to. There's just so much going on with those guys on everyday stuff that they have to do, for the Open. So that's kind of the way I'm going. Koepka's my first choice, and Fowler and Thomas and Rahm are kind of all there tied for second, and then my sleeper's Wallace.
Nice.
So,
nice.
So that's it.
They
And it starts at like 3 a.m. tomorrow if you want to wake up.
You'll be up.
Right when you get done with your second replay of the Angel game, you can probably just go right into the Golf Channel, John. So,
the Dodgers started playing yet, or are they still rained
I don't.
out?
I think they're still.
I got them there in the delay still.
Still in the delay.
They're leading 1-0 in the delay.
Though I did want to give a shout out to the sports artist I used to work for, Dave Hobrecht.
Oh yeah.
He's got a collaboration with Ned Colletti, former general manager of the Dodgers, and it's called the All Time Co. And what he's doing is he's putting together these dream paintings of guys who would never have met in person, who weren't maybe even alive at the same time. And he's going to be displaying an 8-foot long all-time Dodgers staff painting that he's got going on. He's going to be live painting at an all-access event at the Dodger game on July 22nd. And like I said, it's a collaboration with Ned Colletti. So at All Time Co. is a place you can look at some of his art, or at Dave Hobrecht, Hobrecht. And so I'm really happy for him. It's a great thing, and they're coming out with a coffee table book. Once he's doing a series of 12, and their plan is to do these for every team, but he started with the Dodgers because of his connection with Ned. So he's going to do 12 paintings, original paintings. They're going to do prints from the 12 original paintings, and they're going to have a coffee table book featuring the all-time pitching staff, all-time infield, all-time outfield, all-time managers, and he's got some really sweet arrangements going on. And so then the way that the paintings are done is such that you'll see Kershaw with Koufax and Newcomb and Burley Grimes and things like that, guys who would never have been on the same field at the same time.
Right.
I can't wait to see Vince's mug just between Ron Say and Bill Russell.
Yeah, exactly. I want him to put me in there. And one of the things that he's been doing, which I badgered him about for many years, was he's got to do Vince Scully, and he's done a couple of Vins. So great. I'm looking forward to seeing those when they're all said and done.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. He's a phenomenal artist.
What was that date again?
July 22nd, before when the Dodgers come back for their home stand after the 4 against the Phillies. He'll be there July 22nd at an all-access event.
That sounds great.
Yeah, Dodger Stadium. So check it out.
Yeah. Anything else?
Nope.
We
I need a
are-
haircut.
I just
No,
got
what?
one.
Yeah,
You do?
I need a haircut.
We're-
Wow.
We are out.
Good night.
Peace.